Dawn comes quietly, like watercolor bleeding across wet paper, pink dissolving into gray, gray into gold. Mist rolls over the field where night dew still clings to the grass, where each blade carries a tiny drop of light. The air smells of earth, of smoke from dying fires, of metal and hope. Somewhere in the distance, a bird sings, one clear, lonely sound, then silence. And in that silence, hidden between the world's breaths, lies the truth. Today might be the last day for many, but for now, it's still dawn. For now, hands can still hold a pencil and paper. For now, there's still time to write what cannot be spoken aloud. The last words before battle. World War II, 1939 to 1945. Years when the world split in two. Soldiers' letters. These aren't just words on paper. They're last breaths before leaping into the unknown. They're attempts to leave a trace of yourself in a world about to change forever. In soldiers' bags, beside ammunition, rations, and photographs from home, lay sheets of paper. Sometimes these were official military stationery, thin with lines for addresses. Sometimes pages torn from notebooks, edges of newspapers, scraps of anything. American soldiers wrote on V-mail, microfilmed sheets that saved precious space in ship holds crossing the Atlantic. Each letter was photographed, reduced to the size of a postage stamp, then enlarged again on the other side of the ocean and delivered to its destination. Allied soldiers across Europe and the Pacific folded their letters carefully, sealed them, hoped they would arrive. Each letter that came home was a sign. He's alive. He's still breathing. He still remembers you. Letters traveled across oceans and continents, through checkpoints and inspections, through the hands of postal workers who knew the weight of every envelope. Sometimes a letter arrived in a week, sometimes 3 months, and sometimes it returned with a black seal. Imagine a young man. He's 23 years old, maybe 25. He sits at the edge of a foxhole, back pressed against cold, damp earth. In his hands, a worn pencil he's carried in his chest pocket for 6 months. Before him, a sheet of paper, clean, white, like a promise. He writes slowly. The letters come out uneven. His hands shake not from fear, but from exhaustion, from cold, from 3 nights without sleep. He writes to his mother, or his wife, or his little daughter he saw once when she was 4 months old. He can't say where he is. Censors will cut out any mention of location, of battle plans, of what will happen tomorrow at dawn. So he writes about other things, about how much he misses home, about how he imagines the smell of bread from the oven, his mother's hands dusting flour on the table, about how he wants to hold her, press his forehead to her shoulder, and just stand there, silent, until the world makes sense again. "I'll be home soon," he writes, and he believes it, because there's no other way. An American soldier wrote to his wife in the summer of 1942, "Soon I'll hold you and see our baby boy." He didn't know then that the war would drag on for 3 more years, that winter would come harder than anyone expected, that many who wrote these lines would never see spring. Staff Sergeant Eugene Lawton wrote to his parents from Normandy in June 1944. "History is being made here, what children will read about in school. I'm proud to be part of this." He was killed several months later in Belgium during the Battle of the Bulge, but his letter survived. And now we know. Letters weren't written only for those back home. They were written for oneself. To remember who you were before the war. To hold on to faces, voices, scents, moments of peace. To not forget why you're here. Soldiers wrote about simple things, about weather, how rain drums on the roof of a bunker, how wind howls through barbed wire. About comrades who became closer than brothers. About small joys, hot coffee in a metal cup, a rare letter from home, a minute of silence when you can just breathe. They avoided mentioning fear, pain, what they saw with their own eyes. They didn't want to frighten their loved ones. "Everything's fine, Mom. I'm okay. I'll be home soon." They wrote again and again, even when they knew it might not be true. The sister of one soldier remembered years later. "He always wrote like everything was wonderful, like he was going to the mess hall, not into battle. Only many years after the war did I understand. He was protecting us from the truth. He guarded our peace at the cost of his silence." But sometimes truth seeped through the lines anyway. Not in words, but between them. In pauses. In what was not written. In stains that could have been from rain, or could have been from tears. An American soldier wrote in his diary after battle, "Yesterday was a day so drenched in blood, so full of dead and wounded, that I can't write about it yet." Sometimes silence speaks louder than any words. Sometimes silence is the only language for speaking about war. A Marine at Iwo Jima wrote home in February 1945. "When we landed, there were 140 of us. After 2 weeks of fighting, 16 remained. The rest were wounded or killed." 16 out of 140. Think about those numbers. Each of those 16 knew that tomorrow there might be 15, or 10, or none. And still they wrote letters. Still they believed these words would reach home, that someone would read them, that their voices wouldn't disappear into silence. Before a major battle, time slows down. Seconds stretch out, become thick like honey. Soldiers check their weapons. Once, twice, 3 times. Pack their things, write letters. Every movement becomes ritual, a way to calm the mind before the storm. Some wrote about their comrades, about those who walk beside them, who'll cover their backs in battle, who'll share the last piece of bread. One American soldier wrote, "These men love each other in a way you can only love on the battlefield, and it's never spoken aloud, but you feel it in every gesture." They knew. Friendship born in foxholes is like nothing else. Stronger than words, deeper than oaths. It needs no explanation. It simply is, like air, like earth beneath your feet. A soldier wrote to his wife from the front, "A great bond connects us here. We hold on to each other. That's what helps us survive." He wrote this during the winter of 1944, when fighting never stopped, day or night. Many who wrote such letters never returned, but their words remained. And in these words is everything you need to know about war. Not strategy, not tactics, but what people felt. Ordinary people caught in extraordinary circumstances. Dawn before battle is special. The sky lightens slowly, reluctantly, as if hesitating. Should this day begin? The air grows colder, or maybe it just seems that way. Shadows from trees stretch out, falling on the ground like black fingers. Soldiers rise, put on helmets, heavy, cold. Check ammunition one last time. Someone crosses himself quickly, invisibly. Someone clutches a letter from his sweetheart in his pocket. Talisman, protection, reminder. Someone just stares forward at the horizon line where soon something unpredictable will begin. And in this last moment before it starts, when time still exists but is almost gone, many think the same thing. If I don't come back, let the letter reach them. Let them know I love them, that I thought of them until the last second. Battle begins. The world explodes with sound and motion. Everything written yesterday now seems part of another life, quiet, distant, almost unreal, like a dream you only half remember. Breathing, steps, shouted commands, thunder that fills all space, pushes out thoughts, turns the world into one solid sound. Earth trembles, sky darkens with smoke. Time stops existing. There's only this moment, this breath, this step forward. Someone falls. Someone helps them up. Someone keeps moving forward because to stop means to surrender. And you can't surrender. Not after everything. Not now. Not when your buddies are beside you. Not when people are waiting at home. One American veteran remembered decades later, "The scariest thing isn't the sound of gunfire. The scariest thing is the silence after. When you realize who's no longer beside you, when you count the faces and can't find a familiar one, that's what's truly terrifying." Then, silence. It comes suddenly, as if the world simply forgot how to breathe. Smoke settles slowly, layer by layer. Dust falls to earth. Wind returns, cautious, almost apologetic, as if afraid to disturb what remains. The field after battle looks empty. Not devastated, empty, as if something important, invisible, left this place forever and won't return. As if the earth itself exhaled and cannot breathe back in. Survivors sit on the ground, leaning against whatever's available. Tree trunks, remains of walls, each other. Someone pulls out a cigarette with shaking fingers. Someone drinks water from a canteen, slowly, in small sips. Someone just stares at one spot, seeing nothing. And someone remembers the letter written yesterday. Words that now seem prophetic, or naive, or the only thing that matters. "I love you. I'll come home." Simple words, but they're what keep you afloat. Letters found their way home by different routes, sometimes in weeks, with supply convoys, with whoever was going that direction. Sometimes in months, when routes were cut off, when the front moved, when mail was lost in the chaos of war. And sometimes a letter arrived after the telegram with the black border. Mothers, wives, children read these lines and wept, not only from grief, though there was grief, too much grief, but also because in these simple words, "I miss you, I love you, I'll be home soon," a living voice spoke, the voice of someone who's gone, but who's still here, in these letters, in this handwriting. One woman received a letter from her fiancé. It came back to her marked with a stamp, "Deceased." That's how she learned of his death. The letter he sent with love and hope became his last goodbye, his final, "I'm sorry" and "thank you." After the war, letters were kept in shoeboxes, in attics, in old suitcases with rusty locks. Many couldn't read them for years, too painful to touch these words. But they treasured them as the most precious things, because this is all that remained. One historian in the late 20th century began collecting soldiers' letters from World War II. He traveled to thousands of homes, spoke with thousands of families across the world. Many gave him letters they'd kept for 50 years, wrapped in handkerchiefs, tied with ribbons. "These letters aren't just history," he said. "They're testimony. Something we can't forget, because if we forget, we'll repeat it. Because in each letter is a real person who loved, feared, hoped, just like us." Now these letters are kept in archives and museums, on special memorial websites. Anyone can read them. And when you read, you understand. War isn't lines on a map, dates in textbooks, casualty numbers in reports. War is that moment when a young man sits in a foxhole before dawn and writes with a shaking hand, "Mom, I love you. I'll come home." And it doesn't matter if he actually returned. What matters is that he wrote it. What matters is that he believed. Today, when we live in the world they defended, when we sleep in warm beds, when we write letters not from the front, but from vacations, we can only try to understand. Understand what it's like to write your last letter, what it's like to fold it and give it to a postman, knowing these might be the last words you ever say to those you love. What it's like to know tomorrow might not come, but still hope anyway. Their letters aren't cries for help or heroic manifestos. They're just words. Words about home, about love, about hope. Words they wanted to say while they could, while hands could still hold a pencil, while hearts still beat. Not every road leads home, but every road means something, even one that ends too soon. Even one that ends in foreign soil, under foreign skies, among foreign crosses. Because as long as there's a letter, there's memory. As long as there's memory, a person doesn't disappear completely. They remain in these lines, in these words, in this love they managed to write on paper, in this touch of pencil to page. Wind touches grass in an old field where gunfire no longer thunders. Somewhere far away, a bird flies, the same one that sang at dawn many years ago. The sky changes color, from gray to gold, from gold to blue, to purple, to black. The world continues living, and somewhere in an archive, in a yellowed envelope, lies a letter, and in it, still a living voice, still warm hope, still a beating heart, still love that doesn't die. And stories, they always continue, in letters, in memory, in us.